Hello, Grey Couchers, or Grey Couch family. Welcome back or to our Grey Couch, where we say that life and marriage really is not black or white, but many shades of grey, and we get to explore those shades of grey, those nuances together to become better humans and in better relationships. I am Stanley.
Namotito.
And today is extra special. You can see I'm in a tie. Yes, today is our 16th wedding anniversary. I can't believe. I know. I can't believe it's been such 16 years. Wow. And as you can see from the picture, I was really excited to grab, or rather, to have this beautiful young lady on my side. You can see where my hand is in that picture, can't you?
Yeah.
My heart and my hand were bent on having someone special.
Yeah. And if you know anything about us, you've been following us, did you know that we wrote a book? Right? So obviously today's episode is not about this book or anything, but more about, some of the fundamental keys or the premises that we found that a marriage or a relationship is built on, and that's something that we call the 4 C's. Right, so the first C is for communication or conversations. Remember, the couch is actually Grey Couch Conversations. And then the second is coins or money. The third is coupling or sex, and the fourth is cradling or parenting. Right, and so today, right, after 16 years, we cannot help but talk about the impact that launching 2 humans into the world, 2 extra humans into the 8 billion people on the planet now, the impact that it has had on our relationship. But this is also where I'm going to pause. Was that this is not like the Staples button, but I'm going to press the pause button and say that marriage is not just about children. Right? Because as Christ followers, people will say, oh, well, you're supposed to, marry and then, come together, replenish the earth and all of that. But, I do believe that what about people who don't have children by choice, right? Like you kind of have people who I call the MKNBCs, married, no kids by choice. Or people who cannot have them. Right? Are we saying that their marriages are not valid? Not at all, right? I think that people come together for marriage as to help each other, right, on their way to their destiny, and also the children. You kind of launch them into the world so they can be launched into their own destiny. So even as a couple without children, we can actually help each other launch a destiny and help children launch into their destiny, knowing that children come in different forms, right? In the sense that being a parent doesn't necessarily equate to having your own, biological children, right? In that sense. So I wanted to put that out there because we're very well aware that people may be in a marriage and not have, kids.
I really like that, as in that marriage is meant for destiny and not necessarily for kids. But the question, however, I'm trying to stop saying but. The question I have for us today, the 16th year, did the kids add to our marriage experience?
Or did they subtract? So now we're going to title this cringily, the things they don't tell you about marriage, right? Whether the kids added or maybe they subtracted, right? In that sense from the marriage. Yeah, because there's the current trend of people just choosing not to have kids. Outside of what we're talking about of people maybe not having them because they couldn't, but there is, the true trend of NKNDCs or people delaying having them, right? Because I'm telling you, them kids are expensive, right? And the government is not coming to save you or them, right? So yeah, something to think about there.
Okay, so but how can anyone say that these wonderful beauties and cuties could be anything but, a blessing? I guess I could. That would be me. And I want to take us back to the story of child 1. So when we're having child 1, we waited 3 years before we had child 1, and we had time to enjoy ourselves, discover ourselves, and what have you. And then child 1 comes along, and all the maternal instincts that were sheltered, were flooded on me, switch to the child. And I, for one, don't see myself as one that is jealous. After all, this is my child, it's not another person's child. But I started noticing, some, uncomfortable emotions around the child. I've been here before this child, yeah, this child is getting all the attention, and then we wake up and cry at night, I'm supposed to pick him up. I started noticing some jealousy. Now, I can say that now that the child one is taller than me and bigger, but at the time, I might have been a little hesitant to say anything about that because I didn't want to consider myself as that guy that was jealous at the person he brought into the world. And that's even one. Another thing with these kids, or adding or subtracting, was when they got older. I noticed things like I'm trying to be the father figure, lay a good example, and I'm shouting at them, tidy up your room, let's not be late, let's clean up after yourself, only to look back and discover that I do those exact same things, in that I'm typically late. I have a loose relationship with time that I'm working on. My room is not the tidiest side. My side of the room is not the tidiest. I'm snitching on myself here because they're not here, but it's just us here and us here. But it's interesting that they say that kids are a gift from God, but I have to say that God has a real sense of humor, in that the things that irritate you the most about your traits, your habits that irritate you the most, your kids serve it to you in a platter of gold. Oh, I don't know. This is gold.
A grimy platter. If it's gold, it's covered in grime. You have to wash it to kind of see it.
So I mean, they really teach you patience, and if you try and remember that they are getting these genes from one of us.
Yeah. So I guess you could say it's both addition and subtraction. However, I think if you think about children coming into your life, or relationship, right, married relationship, if you look at it from what you call an anthropological point of view, I know it's like, here she comes again with her educated self, and you follow the life course of a child growing up with you, all things being equal, God keeping everyone alive, you could actually also use that for a marriage, right? Like you think about a child at the beginning, it's also cute. Who doesn't think that child is the cutest thing on earth, right? In that sense. So, the cute, like, little toddler to 0 to 3, 4 that you don't want to end. You're there buying things, you're always in the store, always paying all this attention to the relationship, and then life goes on, elementary, and then they get into the teenage years, and then that's when you start to find out the stuff that you and the child, and then you and your relationship are made up of, right? We once heard a pastor say you only start to know the person you married after the 10th year, which is true, right? If you come to think about it. And so the same thing for children. And then if you persevere, though, and by perseverance I don't mean like beating your teeth and persevering, but just the perseverance of knowing on the other side is glory, right? They will go through those teenage years and they will become adults, hopefully responsible adults, and then they will go and there will be a new calmer phase, so to speak. So the same goes for marriage, right? No matter what the toughness is, if you persevere, right? Studies have shown that people who kind of stay the course tend to climb over the hump and have a happier relationship, or a more stable relationship. They can persevere, right? Obviously, this being where there's no harm, right, physical or otherwise, in the relationship, but just that the tension of teenagehood, the tension of just all those extra things that come in that you're just like, what on earth, is this not the child that I was holding on my laps the other day, right? It's the same thing. You think about a marriage and you're like, what happened here? So pray for us, we have a teenage child, and we have
a teenage marriage,
relationship.
as a teenage phase of a marriage.
Yeah, the essence of what we're saying, if you think about children and that anthropological thing, is that as the children are growing, if you pay as much attention to them as you pay to your marriage will grow along with your children, as opposed to the reverse, where you pay way more attention to the children and then the relationship shrivels and dies, right? And so the goal, we just said we're in a teenage marriage, but our goal here on the couch for you and for us is that the tools that we use, to kind of help us, even as we're saying pray for us, prayer is one of those tools, are the things that we're sharing with you daily or weekly, right? In this sense. And in terms of children coming to your life to expose things, things like going for official diagnosis to really find out about one of the children having a diagnosis of neurodivergence, and realizing that this comes from a parental lineage, and realizing, okay, these are some of the things that it caused a lot of frustration in the marriage, the kind of frustration that you want to tear out your hair, literally. And it's just like, oh, I was not aware of this, right, in this sense. And it's one of those things that unless you kind of are just doubly committed to the relationship, it can literally make you walk out, because you're just like, I was scammed, right? In that sense, it's like, oh no, this cannot be happening.
I didn't sign up for this.
I did not sign up for this. But then what are the tools that you use to, succeed and thrive and all that? And so that's what we're going to be talking about in our next webinar, right? Where we talk about neurodivergence, the tendencies and the things, recognizing that you can thrive, right? Those things are things that you can actually flip around and make them what we call superpowers, right? Because the child now, who a person might say, oh, has X, is one of the most creative children that I have ever seen, right? Like, they show you the world in a very different way, right? So that's the same thing. If you could just be patient. Remember, we talked about patience, one of the things. So that's the same kind of patience you have to apply to your partner. But the thing we're saying is that they're tools. They're things that we've learned through lived experience, through research and other things, and we want to share them. But we'll be sharing them on the other side of the screen.
So we want to take a deeper dive into neurodivergence and how it can show up in marriages, signs, symptoms, and some tools you can use to flip them so that these weaknesses, as it were, actually become your strongest points. What was that they say that great men and women have great weaknesses, and so as they overcome these weaknesses, that's the source of their strength, as overcoming their great weaknesses. So it's how I'm also using that to look at marriage, as in the marriages that supposedly have the bigger challenges. If we're able to flip those challenges around, those make for a stronger union. I mean, there's a statistics that I saw somewhere that most marriages that have difficulties, they're able to stay together for 5 years. 2/3 of them end up turning around, and so that's why I'm just drawn to superhero stories. You have great weakness on one part, and overcoming those great weaknesses will have become their greatest strengths.
So thanks for hanging in with us, right, on the Grey Couch. We'll see you next week. And here we truly believe that life is not black or white, but many shades of gray. And the other thing we believe is that you can learn to live, love, and thrive in the many shades of gray. No black and white here with us. I mean, we love colors, but the idea of the black and white is that right there in the middle, right? It doesn't have to be either or. You can live with and, right? And as opposed to either or. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next week for a post-anniversary episode.
From our couch to yours.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.